is Bad Flower that is donating $5 for every ticket that we sell from the Intersections platform to keep our doors open. I've had a ton of local artists reach out to me and say, hey, Scott, we're ready to come back whenever you are. Is there anything we can do? But the touring industry is decimated. It's agencies that are no longer, agencies that have split off, people in different jobs. It's amazing to me. Normally, I'm dealing with 200 to 300 emails a day on shows, and now it's, it might be like 10, maybe 5. It's great.
Wow.
But we'll get there.
Well, we definitely wish you and your team members and so many of the other owners the best of luck. As you said, you were the first to shut down, and you'll most likely be one of the last to reopen, and it's a long road in between those two times. So anyone out there, again, if they want to show support and help be a part of your voice, go to savemistages.com. savemistages.com. Scott, thank you so much for being with us here on the Megacast, and we hope that you have a good holiday season despite having all this additional stress on you.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for the time. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, that was Scott Hammondtree with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the managing partner for the Intersection and the co-founder for the Michigan Independent Venue and Promoter Association. Again, they are in the middle of trying to lobby our state elected leaders for some additional funds, $10 million in grants to try to help support the industry.
That from yesterday's edition of the Megacast. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Good Wednesday morning. I am Tyler Keefe in the studios of 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. We're also on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, and Birmingham Area Municipal Access. This is the Oakland County Megacast. In addition, today on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield School District. As always, I am joined by Ronnie Dahl, live from her home studio. Ronnie?
It's actually a sad day here for the state of Michigan. Tyler, I don't know if you saw the news yesterday that we have actually, here in the state of Michigan, surpassed the 10,000 mark for the number of people that have died from COVID-19. And in honor of that, or in remembrance of that, the governor has ordered all flags to be flown at half staff between now and December 18th to honor and to mourn there's so many people that have already lost their lives to the virus here in the state of Michigan. And, again, for people that may be joining us for the first time, this show actually was born out of this pandemic. And it's been a way for us to try to reach out to the public and to inform the public of all the changes that have been happening. But while we're also interviewing people and talking about everything else that's going on that's related to this, it is a stark reminder as well that this is a very human virus and taking a very human toll. And so many families and so many loved ones are being hurt by this.
Yes, continues to severely affect the state of Michigan. It affects families, it affects businesses, it affects every area of our general life. And reaching that 10,000 death mark, even though it is 9 months into this pandemic, that doesn't make that number any less stark, any less concerning, especially when we know that number is going to continue to rise, and at the rates we're currently at, it could be significantly rising in the coming months as we get into the early portions of distributing the COVID-19 vaccines and continue to try to fight this off. All the more reason for everyone to take the precautions that are necessary to prevent further spread of this virus in the state of Michigan and throughout our country.
Yeah, and I know that for so many people, these are frustrating times as well, especially for so many business owners that are losing their livelihoods as well as their life savings because they're being shut down, due to the virus and the spread of the virus. But we also have to remember the people that have lost their lives. And that's not just a number. That's someone's father, someone's mother, someone's aunt, someone's uncle, brother, sister, and they leave a lifetime of pain behind them when they have passed on with us as well. So if we could take a moment, we'll just recognize that number, but also, again, our goal here on the Oakland County Megacast is try to keep you informed of everything that is going on with this pandemic, and also the human toll of what is actually happening out there, because it is impacting so many different lives. And so one of the good things we get to do here, Tyler, is I know that you and Dave Scott started this show way back March of last year. Boy, does that seem like a lifetime ago, right? Is to be able to bring some of these interviews in a long format so that we can give our guests an opportunity to be able to speak at length about how this is impacting them and their businesses and their families. And, and so that is the goal of this show here. And to me, I think it's a great format. I will tell you, 10 plus years as a reporter, a lot of times you would do those interviews yourself, but then you would have to cut them down to like a minute 15. So, a 5-minute response, you're putting it into like a 15-second soundbite. And so you can't always capture that. So this is a great format for people to be able to tune into, to be able to get some of those interviews in its entirety as well, and to take away the full conversation as well. So glad to be a part of the team here as we continue to march on. But the good news, of course, the vaccine is right around the horizon. We are seeing that it could be here in the state of Michigan by Christmas time at the very earliest, or even possibly, at the end of the year. So that is some good news coming out of this, right?
Yes, very good news. Welcome news as we approach the end of 2020 and try to resolve the issues of 2020 as early as possible in 2021. The earlier we're able to get these vaccines to the general population and get people vaccinated and eradicate, or at least get this virus under control, the quicker we can start returning to whatever normal it's going to be after the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, so Tyler, we kind of have been touching on this a little bit with some of our guests throughout the week, is talking about that vaccine. And I saw a segment this morning on Good Morning America where they were talking about the vaccine, and is it a possibility that you'll have to have a vaccine to be able to go to work, to fly, or, to go to a sporting event? And their legal expert was saying, you know what, pretty much probably the first entities that are going to roll out the mandated vaccine will be some of these larger stadiums, to go to a concert, to go to a football game. And with that, the big football game that was canceled for this weekend because of COVID-19. So just imagine maybe this time next year when Michigan can actually play Ohio State, you may have to have a vaccine in order to attend that game.
Oh, Ronnie, they haven't played Ohio State in years. That being said, congratulations to Jim Harbaugh. He won't lose to Ohio State this year. But, unfortunate situation. It's a big game. It's an important game, especially if you feel for those seniors at both of those schools who this would have been the last time that they get to play in what's known as the game, the most important game. Some of them of their seasons, definitely for those playing at Michigan, of their careers, because they don't go to playoff games or significant bowls. So it's unfortunate that this happens, but there's been some issues on the Michigan football team regarding COVID-19 in the last couple of weeks. Same thing with Ohio State, and so the caution has to be taken. And unfortunately, another hallmark event of the year is going to be canceled. And for Ohio State, it has some serious implications as well, because they have now not played their 6 required in-conference games in order to qualify for the Big Ten championship game. So they will not be making an appearance in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. And of course, naturally, neither will Michigan.
And so with that, Tyler, let's go ahead, and if we can get to the day's headlines. If you go to civiccentertv.com, click on the coronavirus tab. That is where we put the latest headlines. And of course, as we've been talking about, the Michigan has been forced to cancel its longstanding game with Ohio State because of its concerning COVID-19 outbreak. This marks the first time since 1917 that the game, considered one of the greatest rivalries in college football, will not be played. 1917. That's amazing. This upcoming game against Ohio State, which had been in jeopardy after Michigan canceled its game last Saturday against Maryland, was canceled Tuesday. Michigan had returned to light practice Monday after pausing in-person football activities November 30th, giving some hope that the game would be played at noon Saturday at Ohio Stadium, but it's not to be. The number of positive tests has continued to trend in an upward direction over the last 7 days. Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel said in a statement, "We have not been cleared to participate in practice at this time. Unfortunately, we will not be able to field a team due to COVID-19 positives and the associated quarantining required of close contact individuals." It's like you said, I think, Tyler, you're the sports guy that knows everything about the sports, but it seemed like Ohio State, their athletes and their football players weren't even informed about this until a reporter asked them in a press conference. They weren't aware yet that Michigan had called off the game.
Yeah, I was perusing social media later on in the day yesterday while we were doing some social media posting for Civic Center TV, and had saw that the game was trending on Twitter. And so I thought, okay, well, what happened? Did they end up canceling it? And it was very unclear for a long time yesterday if that game had been officially canceled or if those rumors were just heating up. And so it's not entirely surprising that some of these players didn't find out until the news broke from the newsmakers themselves, from the news reporters themselves, breaking to them that this game had been canceled. And so really even more disappointing way to see your season, your regular season, come to the end. Certainly there will be bowl game implications for Ohio State, and State could still potentially be in the college football playoff, one of those top 4 teams in the nation, just based on the way that they do play ball. Whether or not they're able to win a Big Ten championship, which at this point looks like it won't be the case because they won't qualify for the game itself, or not.
Yeah, and speaking of sports, we're also waiting for the MHSAA to make an announcement or a decision later today about whether or not they are going to try and attempt some type of playoffs for the high school athletes at all in the state of Michigan, or if they are just going to call it a season. They're meeting today, and we should get that information later this afternoon.
Yes.
Tyler, you are the sports fanatic. What's your guess? Is it going to be called?
Well, much like I said yesterday when you had mentioned that West Bloomfield's head football coach Rob Bellamy had mentioned that at this point in the process, it's going to be so late in December by the time we'd get back to football. There's no real point in continuing the season. One of the main reasons for that is these players are signing their letters of intent. Some of them are signing those letters of intent and committing to their schools next week. And then some of those players themselves, those students, are going to end up early enrolling to get familiar with college life, to get familiar with the team, to get their playbooks memorized, and so on. And so they're going to be gone after the first of the year. So if after the first of the year they have technically graduated from high school, they're no longer eligible, which means a lot of these teams are going to look completely different. And yesterday I spoke to actually someone that is within an athletic department in one of the MHSAA high schools that are still in the tournament, who had said that they believe that on a 100% scale, whether or not the MHSAA can realistically or would realistically continue the playoffs, the football playoffs as they are, said it's about a 80-20 no to yes ratio.
Yeah, I think high school sports is going to be over for the season.
I would agree. And I think at this point, fall sports at the very least, their season has to be complete by now, especially football season, where if you're trying to wrap it up before the first of the year so you can get everybody's eligibility and make it as fair as possible for all the teams that have gotten to a certain point with a certain number of key players who may not be there after the first of the year because they early enroll. The only real way to do that would be to play several football games in a matter of several days, which is not only unsafe, but is also, frankly, impractical.
Also making headlines this morning on CivicCenterTV.com. Michigan House cancels session after the staffer tests positive for COVID-19. The Michigan House of Representatives will no longer meet in session this week after a staff member has tested positive for COVID-19. House Speaker Lee Chatfield said the person who tested positive had nothing to do with the hearing last Wednesday where Rudy Giuliani, an attorney for President Donald Trump, testified. Chatfield did not identify the staff member, but said the person works with several lawmakers and committees, and those who have been in contact with the staffer have already been informed and are currently isolating and getting tested. So the new announcement came the same day the state health and labor officials confirmed they are investigating the House for a possible COVID-19 workplace violation. The decision to cancel the House session this week leaves lawmakers with just 3 days of lame duck session next week. So a lot they need to do next week. Also making news on CivicCenterTV.com, the Oakland County is launching a PR blitz to address pandemic fatigue. County Executive Dave Coulter said about $200,000 is being spent on a multimedia campaign called The Only Way to Beat It is to Face It. The campaign runs through the end of the month via public service announcements and print, television, radio, and digital platforms, and will be paid for with the CARES Act money. The campaign is to encourage residents to continue taking measures to limit transmission of the virus, such as wearing masks and social distancing, and to combat pandemic fatigue. Coulter said it will feature some familiar names, including former Detroit Red Wing Darren McCarty and Merrill Davis, an Olympic champion ice dancer. Coulter said they are looking for new ways to get out the message to stop the spread of the virus as the holidays and winters approach and the availability of vaccines draw nearer. We saw another campaign, not out of Oakland County, Tyler, but out of the state of Michigan, the Rona campaign. I really don't know how much good it did. Let's be honest. We all know right now what we need to do. We don't need a campaign to tell us about that. Save the $200,000 and spend it someplace else.
Exactly. That's why I'm starting my absolutely free ad campaign against COVID. Say novid to COVID, and I'm sure it'll catch on like wildfire.
So you can find those stories and so much more on CivicCenterTV.com. Just click on the coronavirus tab at the top of the page, and then you'll find the latest headlines. Plus, at the top of the page, we also put direct links there for the CDC, the state of Michigan, as well as Oakland County and all of our local communities here in the Oakland County area. So we try to make it easy for you so you can look for that information directly for yourself as well. We have a lot to get to today on the Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We'll be speaking with resale shops. How are they doing right now? I know it was kind of weird in the beginning. Could you donate things? Could you not donate things? How is that process working? So we'll be speaking with Sandi Matz. She's with the Council Resale. And then also the Detroit Pale Association, a nonprofit doing great work for more than 50 years in the city of Detroit. But how has this crisis sidelined their mission, or has it at all? And then coming up at the 11 o'clock hour of the Oakland County Megacast, Brian Calley is going to be with us. He's with the Small Business Association here in the state of Michigan. And then Nathan Hamoud, he's with Dessert Oasis Coffee Roasters. I know they have a location in Rochester Hills. Now that they've been ordered for to shut down, they are offering curbside and carry out. But how does that impact when you can't actually go in and sit down and enjoy that cup of coffee? And then we'll round out the show today speaking with a couple students from West Bloomfield High School. So a lot to get to on the Oakland County Megacast. So we're going to take a quick break here. And then when we get back, we'll get the show rolling. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
As always, we want to say thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. It is a Wednesday, December 9th. We are working our way out of this pandemic as a vaccine has now starting to be employed in the UK and hopefully here in the United States at the end of the year, but it's still going to be a long road ahead of us for so many of the businesses trying to survive. And like many other businesses, resale shops have had to change the way they operate during the pandemic. But is business booming or is it a bust? Joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast, Sandi Matz with us as she's with the Council Resale in Berkeley. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Ronnie.
I'm always confused. Is it okay to donate things now or not? Because I notice some places are accepting donations, others are not.
We are accepting donations. We have everything quarantining. So when somebody brings something from their home, it is set aside for 72 hours before it's brought into the store. So everybody's more comfortable. And actually the CDC said you don't really have to do that anymore, that the virus is not holding on to fabrics. So, but we just thought it'd be safer to quarantine everything.
And what's great so much about it, Sandi, your resale shop, it's a nonprofit, really. You're supporting a great cause. Did you take a hit in the beginning during this time?
Oh, sure. We had to close our store for several months and we opened back up in July. And so we lost a lot of revenue for those months. And since we're a nonprofit, everything that we take in from the store goes right to our organization, which is the National Council of Jewish Women. So it was difficult, and we did open back up in July, and we opened up safely. We have hand sanitizing stations, and we social distance, and we wear masks, and everybody, we can only have 10 people in the store at a time. So we're very safe, and we're keeping our customers and our staff safe.
So now that so many of us have been spending a lot more time at home cleaning and clearing the clutter, are you seeing the donations start to roll in a little bit more now?
Oh, Ronnie, you have no idea. The donations, people are pulling up with cars full, bags and bags and bags. We had to rent pods to put everything in because it's just unbelievable. First of all, people are home with not much to do. So they're cleaning their closets and they're cleaning their cupboards. And the donations are just amazing. And so if any of your viewers are watching, and if they are home cleaning their closets, bring your donations to Council Resale, and then you'll have room in your closet to shop in the store as well.
Because can they get a tax write-off as well for donating?
You know, that's something
It's changed over the years, though.
It has changed, and that's something they need to discuss with their accountant.
Yeah, I remember we used to keep all of our slips from our donations, and then the tax law changed, and you really weren't getting that write-off that you once did.
Right. We still give the donation slip to the people, and then they can choose what to do with it after that.
Sandi Matz with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She's with Council Resale in the city of Berkeley. I would imagine you probably are with so many donations. Is it just as much of a challenge trying to separate the donations versus what you can actually sell and make money on? And then what do you do with the donations that aren't really resellable?
Well, we do struggle because there are a lot of donations that come in that are not sellable. We do not put things on the racks in the store that are torn, that are soiled. So we sometimes will donate those items to homeless shelters and to people that just can't come into the store and buy things. But the clothes are still wearable. They're just not acceptable for us to put on the racks.
And with that, what exactly are the items that you're looking for?
Well, in our store, we sell men's clothing, women's clothing, outerwear. We sell pajamas. We sell shoes. We sell jewelry. We have a houseware section. The only thing that we are not accepting right now, as far as donations, we're not accepting books, because they're so heavy when people bring them, and the store is staff run but also volunteer run, and it's hard to lift those books. So you name it. And we have a sale starting December 10th, which I believe is tomorrow, through the 26th, which is a holiday sale, and it's going to be 65% off. Every day it'll be a different item. So one day it'll be pants, one day it'll be shirts. And last week we had a 75% off outerwear, and people were walking out of the store with warm winter jackets for $3 and $4. We're trying to help the community during the pandemic. We know that finances are difficult right now, so we're just trying to help out as much as we can.
Sandi, who's your typical customer?
Our typical customer, I don't know that we have a typical customer. We have people that live near the store that are regulars, that come every day or every other day. And then we have people that are driving 20, 30 miles because they know that we have treasures in our store. And we do. We have wonderful treasures. We have some designer clothing. We have Chanel, we have Gucci, we have Armani. You go through the racks and you just wouldn't believe what you would find.
I think it's become kind of hip over the last few years to shop resale, because
absolutely.
You do find unique items.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd be surprised how some people, they don't go into a regular store. They want to wear something that's, maybe a few years old, or maybe even vintage, 10, 15, 30 years old. We have it all. And we have an incredible selection of wedding gowns. So we're hoping that someday soon weddings will happen again, so young brides can come to the store and find wonderful bargains on wedding gowns.
That is actually, I never thought about donating a wedding gown, but
Yep.
A lot of times it's taking up room in the back of your closet. The style is going to change if you had kids and you had daughters.
Right.
The style is going to change so much. They're not going to want to wear necessarily your dress unless they
Probably
can
not.
totally reimagine it, right?
No, probably not. They're going to
So-
hold their own.
Yeah. Or I guess too, if someone got divorced, that's a good thing to do with it.
Then it's a perfect time to get rid of that dress.
Right. Because I know that for a while it was kind of cool to do like these photo shoots where you were throwing paint on it and,
Right.
all these crazy things on Instagram. But you're really better off with that dress is donating it to someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let somebody else have the enjoyment of wearing it and not have to pay a lot for it.
So with that, so you're getting a lot of donations,
Mhm.
but are you getting a lot of customers as well?
Well, surprisingly, we are getting a lot of customers. We worried at first when we opened up, would anybody come? I wasn't sure that I would shop in any store, let alone a resale shop. The lines have been out the door because we only allow 10 people in at a time. People come, we keep track. Once it's 10, you can't come in, and people stand outside and wait. Now it's getting a little colder. I don't know that we'll have people waiting outside, but business is booming.
Wow. Are you finding a difference in the types of donations that you're getting this time around?
No, not really. I truly think that people are cleaning their closets and just being realistic that they're not going to wear this blouse or these pants, and it's gone.
Well, I think a lot of women a lot of people in general have also kind of put on the COVID 10 or 15. So
Yes, they are. Yes,
so
they are.
maybe it's good to get rid of those skinny clothes that are no longer a motivation, right?
Or here's another thing they can do. They can inexpensively buy the next size up until they lose that COVID-19, and then they can donate it back.
That's a good way to think about it. What's it been like for resale shops such as yourselves outside of the pandemic? The competition has also increased with how people are selling things. Before, you would clean out the closet, take the big bag and donate it. But now you have so many different avenues to be able to sell things yourself, such as Marketplace or Let It Go, eBay. Has that impacted how you're operating and how you're seeing your business impacted?
It has made a difference. People are taking their things to consignment shops because they want to get money for their items instead of donating it. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of resale shops out there. On every corner, you can find a resale shop. We used to be just about the only one, and we're 80 years old, and we have survived for 80 years. But we have loyal customers, we have loyal donors, we do a lot of promotional work, and we're able to stay alive.
And with that, Sandi, do you want to talk a little bit about what programs your proceeds go towards helping? Because
Absolutely.
It's not just about making a dollar at the end of the day, it's about helping the community.
Absolutely. The resale shop is owned by a nonprofit, National Council of Jewish Women, and we are a 501c3, and every dollar that comes into the store goes to our programs and projects. We do a lot of community service. We have a back to school store. We have the back to school stores for children in the city of Detroit. We have a backpack project for homeless children in Oakland County. We make blankets for children in the foster system. We have a kosher Meals on Wheels program. As you can imagine, during the pandemic, the number of recipients for kosher Meals on Wheels has tripled because of so many people having to be homebound. So we need more volunteers, we need more drivers, we need more packers. We also are an advocacy organization. We do a lot of work educating the community on human trafficking. We just did a Promote the Vote campaign. We are a green organization. We're taking care of the environment. So every dollar that the store brings in is important for our organization. And I always like to point out that we're the National Council of Jewish Women. We are not the National Council for Jewish Women. We take care of the community. It doesn't matter what faith you are, where you live, we take care of women, children, and families.
And that's so important to know. So when you're donating, know who you are donating to, because it's better to donate to an organization such as yours that is giving back directly to your local community rather than doing a consignment to a business that is going to make money off of your products.
Right, right. And I wanted to tell you about a new exciting program that we're going to have. We're going to start Zoom classes, and it's going to be related to our resale shop, where we're going to have how you can tie a scarf, how to paint a jean jacket, how to set a table. how to accessorize, how to dress for success. And everything that we display will be able to be purchased at the resale shop.
That is so creative. That's awesome. I know people may laugh at some of that, but there was a video a few years ago that went viral where the lady tied the scarf. And she would take a scarf and tie it in all these different ways, and they, did like a mash of them. It went viral, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so smart. Like, you can totally change your outfit with just one accessory item.
Right. And we just thought it would be fun. People are home, they're looking for something to do, so we're gonna have some classes and tie it into our resale shop.
So Sandi, before we let you go, give us your location. I know you're in Berkeley, but also, do people need to sign up for those Zoom classes, and how can they find out more about them?
Right. Well, we have a website. It is, where's my website? www.councilresale.net. And if they go to that website, they'll find out about our sales, and they'll find out about our classes. If they'd like more information about NCJW, National Council of Jewish Women, that's www.ncjwmi.org. And a couple things I wanted to tell you. Our store hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6. And our donating hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 4. And I did bring a few items if you'd like me to show some samples of what we have in the store.
Oh, sure.
Time? Okay, so the sweater that I'm wearing, let's see if you can see it. This is from the store, the necklace. And this sweater would only be, I think, $8 in the store.
Wow.
Then I have red pumps. Look at the heels on these. Now,
those shoes, they look like they've never been worn.
Okay, so these look like either Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz or a wonderful red pump for the holidays. And even though you're not getting dressed up and going out, you can still get dressed up and wear them at home. And we were just talking about scarves, and I have this lovely scarf here. It's all sparkly and just a really fun scarf. And this item, which I'm so excited about, actually has a tag on it. So when you come to the store, you might find things with tags on them. And then to finish off the whole outfit, you have a red bag.
You have your whole holiday look going. So
absolutely.
Like you said, we may not be going out, but you can always have a holiday party at home.
That's right. And we just want everyone to feel good, to be safe, and have a little fun dressing up.
Exactly. And the good thing about the shoes, if they hurt your feet and you're having a holiday party at home, it's no problem to kick them off, right?
That's absolutely right. Take them off and put your slippers on.
Well, Sandi, thank you so much for being with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Ronnie. And everybody be safe and have a wonderful holiday.
You to the Council Resale, located on 12 Mile Road there in Berkeley. If you have some things you want to donate, it's a great place to donate because they are giving back to our community locally. But also, if you're looking for some one-of-a-kind items, it's also a good place to do a little bit of shopping. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, the CEO for Detroit Pale will be talking with us here on the Oakland County Megacast.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studio while Mr. Tyler Keith holds things down back in West Bloomfield at the Civic Center TV studios. And as a reminder, you can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon on Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. If you have cable, thank you so much, because a portion of your fee helps support programming such as this. You can tune us in on Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T, and also we are on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And also we want to say thank you to the West Bloomfield School District for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. The Megacast available just about anywhere and everywhere. That's why we call it the Megacast. Up next here on the show, for more than 50 years, the Detroit Police Athletic League has worked with kids to help them find their greatness through sports and mentorships. In 2015, the nonprofit launched a $20 million campaign to redevelop the historic Tiger Stadium. They reached that goal, and in 2018 opened their new headquarters in the Corktown neighborhood. And then COVID hit. Joining us now, Robert Jamerson. He is the CEO for the Detroit Police Athletic League. So great to have you with us on the show.
Yeah, I'm truly excited to be on the show. Love when there's opportunities to share the work that we're doing and to get people involved. So thank you.
Well, we're excited to have you with us. I've been down to the facility. It is amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's such a blessing to wake up, and this park is a memory for so many who had an opportunity to see the Tigers play here. It is funny to see someone walk in and they start immediately thinking about, where did I sit when I came to the games? Or I want to smell some hot dogs or popcorn going. And it's just a true blessing to now be able to offer that to the youth and the families that come to the Corktown area now.
That is awesome. And for those that maybe aren't familiar with the program or the campaign, although I think all of us here in Metro Detroit are well aware of the effort that went in to revitalizing this area and actually make it a reality. Tell us a little bit about the background. What is the venue? It's more than a field, and some of the programs that you offer.
Yeah, so beyond being the Willie Horton Field of Dreams, I mean, imagine a namesake like Willie Horton still being here and still carrying on the tradition of the Tigers. We are a collision spot for the community. And so when you think about how it even came to fruition, it were these people who believed in it being more than just a grocery store spot or a Home Depot spot or, something that could have been commercialized. They really wanted to show the importance of the collisions that Tiger Stadium offered before, such as hosting events like the Lions when they were at their very best, Joe Louis, Nelson Mandela, those types of things. Now we're hosting not just Little League games or sports events, but you can come have your wedding. If you are a Tiger fan or you want to be able to do something with the sports theme, you can do that. Or if you're like Rocket Mortgage, which is one of our great partners, they now host a lot of their team building activities or use our boardroom space for that. And if you're having a wedding or a birthday or just doing a community event, our event space is second to none, because when you walk in, you'll see just how beautiful it is. But when you look out, you'll see this backdrop of this beautiful field and a city view that is unlike any other. So we are just truly thankful for what the community saw in us to be able to use this site as a platform to help people in the community.
It was so much momentum to get it up, to get it running. You get there, you're really starting to, utilize the space when COVID-19 hit. How has this pandemic impacted what you all are doing there at the Police Athletic League?
Yeah, so after the anxiety and after
Right.
the stress and the tears, you really have to go back to being what the community sees us at, and really at the grassroots level, we are a community builder. We are a hub to be able to align resources to the community in the way that they can receive them. So yes, you're right. Our funding sources were cut off when you start thinking about when the schools closed and these other things start happening. We are the first partaker of seeing some of those things because we are the ones that were activating this after school programming. So when that hit, we have to immediately survey our groups and our population to say, how are you receiving messages? Are you getting it from the state address? Are you getting it from the governor? Are you getting it from the mayor? And what we found was that they were still getting it from our mentors, who are coaches, and other community partners that we have. So we immediately shifted to being able to say, let's develop a text messaging campaign to be able to say, let's make sure that people know we are one step apart from being able to get you the resources. So we partnered with other organizations, and we leveraged our communications to get that information through a text messaging campaign. So
I like that, because I will say it seems like everyone has a phone pretty much now, and a text message you're going to look at. There are so many other avenues that are hitting you from the mainstream media that it gets overwhelming. And some people, it was so depressing, they shut it off for a while.
absolutely.
Which when they do that, then they're also shutting off those resources. So it's great that you were being creative enough to try to come up with this. But your organization is about so much more than just sports.
Mhm.
It's about those mentorships and also building that gap and that bridge with the community. How has that shifted during this time?
Yes, it's really it's caused us to really, really hone in and say, what do we really do well? And so we still leveraged our sports to be that platform that people run to a lot of times because it helps to relieve some of the stress as well. But then they were coming to us saying, what else can we do? And so we immediately shifted to doing some virtual programming through our youth enrichment department. And so we focused on the mental health aspect. We actually brought in some psychologists to talk about how is COVID affecting the youth, and we used the youth's voice to have them speak to their parents and speak to the community around what they needed, right? And what they said was, man, we miss interacting with our friends. The biggest thing we were looking forward to was our prom or our graduation, and we're having this taken from us now, and really feeling like this was a platform to at least express themselves, even though they couldn't change it all the way. And then we shifted to, what else do you want to talk about? Well, we got police relations challenges that started coming, and there were these protests. And so when I think about PAL at its best, it's an organization that has been able to address some of those systemic challenges that we saw and are still dealing with when it came to police relations, and having a voice that was equitable in the community. So that's how we've shifted. We have a couple things that I'll share, in a minute around what we're doing to address those things. But you got to be what the community needs, and still sports is a great platform for being that.
Because I think a lot of people don't realize that your organization actually grew out of the unrest of the 1960s. And here we are in 2020. And in some ways, it feels like we're having that same conversation.
Absolutely. There's truth to saying there's nothing new under the sun, and that we will repeat things in history if we don't learn from them. And so we learned from that before. And like you were mentioning earlier on a previous conversation around just the importance of not losing focus on these community programs like Detroit PAL, who need those resources, who you can actually participate and be a part of doing those resources, because you need sustainable approaches when you start talking about addressing systemic challenges. And so, yes, we really leveraged our voice with our connection with the police department to connect them to our youth and their families, to create these positive exposures, but also break some of the myths that sometimes are out there that can come through social media platforms or just misinformation. And then with the other programs, we still have to address the educational challenges we know our youth are impacted by, or the social economic challenges of a kid can't concentrate if he can't think because he's hungry, you know? And so we still have to be what the community needs, even when we lack some resources right now.
And so when talking about the kids and their education, and I know that's the big focus, and trying to get these kids to realize you are great. You just have to find that greatness. But it's like you said, if you're hungry, but you're now stuck at home for the entire day, and for a lot of kids, school was their escape. Organizations such as yours, that's where they went to escape. That was their safe place. And now those places have been taken away. And while you're trying to do things virtual, I worry about those kids that home is not their safe place.
Absolutely. What keeps me up at night is not the kids that are introduced to PAL, but it's the ones that aren't introduced to that. And it starts with the mentors. You know, we have coaches who have transformed how they train the kids and are still there. And it's funny, you'll see them on the thing and they got their phones up, and depending on whatever source they have, and a lot of times it's the kid, he's doing these push-ups or she's doing sit-ups, and the coach is watching them and they got their phone set up there. And so they're still having these interactions, and they're teaching these things about goal setting and resilience and embracing healthy lifestyles and accountability and teamwork. It's just in a different way. And until we can do things in a safe way, we still have to take every precaution, because the last thing we want is to think we're doing something good and it leads to something that can compound the challenges that we face right now.
And so with that, some of the kids that you're mentoring, how has it shifted? I know you're doing virtual, but sports is taking a hit right now. It's hard to get together and play baseball.
Right. Yeah, we actually, the interesting thing is we had to look at the opportunities in the sports that we could do. And what we decided was we're going to leverage this ballpark, because normally we're in every crevice of the community. But one thing we could do at this ballpark was maintain the safety measures that were in place. So not only from keeping a cohort per se of the families and the kids that we're doing the programs with, but then we could do the temperature checks. You know, we can ensure masks were in place. We can ensure that interactions were limited outside of families or people that were interacting anyway, to make it a safe environment. And we were fortunate to host a full season of baseball for our older kids who, you know, really lacked out on college exposure types of things. And then we did something for our little kids, which are the 4 to 8-year-olds, with we knew it was going to be a more safe environment because those parents and those kids were more secure. And so we did a phenomenal program with our Tiny Tigers program that is sponsored by the Tigers Foundation, and our Little Kickers program, and had them come. And then we cultivated that with officers coming. And imagine this, picture this, you got 20 cars, police cars, that are set up throughout the facility. And the kids walk in and they're looking, they're seeing sirens go off. And now these officers are welcoming them to the ballpark. They then engage in activities. And then to my surprise, a helicopter lands on the field. And these kids start running to the helicopter. We stop them. And then each kid was able to pass through the helicopter and see that. That's what we talk about when we say helping them find their greatness. Who knows what that experience was like in building a bridge between the police and those kids and those families. But more importantly, when that helicopter landed, how often is that happening where they get a chance to get that close to seeing what that looks like, and now maybe one day aspiring to be the person flying the helicopter?
I used to work with a photographer, and anytime, excuse me, we had kids that would come up to us in a live truck, he would always take the time, didn't matter what the crazy deadline was, to let them come in, push a couple buttons, even say, hey, do you like that video over here, to try to show them editing, because his point was, you know, this could be the first time they're ever seeing a live truck. And of course, kids today, by the time they get to where they're in the workforce, you know, a TV live truck's not going to be quite what it was today, right? But it was about exposure. The more we expose them to, the more possibilities they see can be a part of their future. And with that, can we talk a little bit about how you are doing on funding right now? Because as you mentioned, you did design this ballpark to be able to have different revenues of income coming in, such as, you know, the wedding venues or the banquet facilities, but that's been cut off because we can't gather right now.
Absolutely. So when you start talking about there's exposure and then there's access, right? And so when you talk about the importance of funding, is that it's one thing to expose someone to it, but then you don't give them the same opportunities to be able to build up those skill sets to become good at it. And that's where PAL really bridges the gap. So think of like foundations as the one that do these pilots that say, we're going to give you funding to do something for the short term, but what we want is sustainable programming. And that's where corporate sponsors like the Rocket Mortgage or the Ford Ford Company Fund, they come in and they supply these additional funds that then cause these sustainable programs. Well, imagine during this COVID, all these different businesses, nonprofits, are all now asking versus it being in a cycle of, you got a 2-year stint, we're gonna give you funds during this time. Everybody's coming at the same time now. So now they're supplying, just like when we're getting funds from the government or anyone else, basic needs. And we know our community needs more than the basic needs. And we could not stop being what we needed to be. So we shifted, but as you can imagine, our funds are short right now. And so we need each person, if you're watching or looking, thinking about how can I help? $1 helps, because when you add that up with 5 people, it becomes $5. And now those dollars can go directly into impacting someone you may never meet, but that needs you more than ever right now. So you can go to DetroitPal.org and offer those dollars to support the programs that we're offering right now, from our critical conversations where police engage with the youth, or our Ecotech, which is a unique program. It's a science-based program to imagine where those same kids that were tiny tigers, they got to make biodegradable balls with a kit that our science instructor provided. And now we're doing it for another 8-week session. So if they're at home, they're not just doing something that may be just totally school-based, but something that can stimulate the mind so they can see, I may want to be a scientist one day. So if you want to be a part of supporting those types of programs and being someone that can be the change you want to see, donate today. And that's probably one of the best things you can do. And then we still have volunteer opportunities as well.
And how has the volunteer changed, the program changed during this?
Yeah, so one of the things that's changed for us with volunteering is that in some ways we have a literacy program where we need volunteers to come in and read to the youth. It's a 4 to 6 week time frame, but during that time, they actually can do it easier from a virtual standpoint, because they now don't have the travel, they don't have some of the other nuances, and they can still connect with the youth during that time. So that's one way that they can still support. And we know we're going to come out of this at some point where there are some opportunities for them to still engage with some of the youth in a limited way, in a safe way, once we establish that again.
Robert Jamerson with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the CEO for the Detroit Police Athletic League. So many people just assume all you do is play sports. Mm-hmm. And to hear you talk about some of these other programs, like the science program, I didn't even know you had something like that. Right.
Yeah. So you think that's cool. Think about this. So kids are right now still participating in our drones program. So when you start talking about, I'm stimulating the mind through STEM, and I'm teaching them how to do what a lot of them are already skilled at with the remotes that they're using for PlayStations and Xboxes, right? So they come in and they're already ready to fly with the best pilots when it comes to using that equipment. We teach them then how to program them. And so then they go out in our beautiful ballpark and they got unlimited space to where they're flying and practicing in a safe environment, developing these skills. And now they can become entrepreneurs themselves, because if I'm a person in real estate and I want to show a home, I can use a drone to fly through that home, capture that information. And as a 14-year-old, I can establish an LLC and now I have a business. So how cool is that?
Right, because these kids are so much more tech savvy than we are as adults. And when you think about the possibilities, how are you picking and choosing which kids to bring into the program and also which programs to try to help foster these opportunities?
Right. So when we think about programming, we really target, partners who have proven results or capabilities that are outside of ours. What do we do well? We're able to attract the parents and the kids. If you need kids and parents, we're able to attract them, right? Where we need assistance is like Brilliant Detroit, which is a great partner. Cindy runs one of the best literacy programs, but wraparound service programs where they treat the entire family from 0 to probably about 8 years old. And so we strategically partnered with them because we have an emphasis for our 4 to 8-year-olds around literacy. Because we believe if we can build that foundation together, then now when they see and get these exposures, they have that foundational part to be able to show how they can achieve those things. So we really look at that. And then we want measurable things. We want quantitative and qualitative results that we can show the impact of the dollars that come in. So when you donate, you can actually see the results of what you're donating to versus having a lot of good work, but not really knowing, is it impactful for those youth, right? And so those are some of the critical things. And then partnership, we want to be the best at collaboration. Our first collaborative partner is the police department, right? We partner with them in that they're not a part of PAL per se, meaning that they're a part of paying for them, but they donate those resources for the community relations part. And that's how we've partnered along the way to be able to program. But we then look for people that offer STEM because we know those are the jobs of the future, right? Or people that program and do things that we know our kids are going to be faced with or aren't being offered in some of the schools because of the lack of resources that are there. So sports, once again, is just the hub. It's the one that gets them in there because although kids still have an opportunity to get scholarships, the chances for them to go pro is still very, very small. I think the highest is lacrosse and getting a scholarship if you play high school. But even when you look at football and basketball, we have a lot of kids that are participating. It's still only about 7% of those kids that play in high school actually go on to play D1, D2, or D3 in college. So we know we have to be able to expose them to these other things so they can be like you and like others who have found their greatness in these other aspects of life.
Can we talk a little bit about the relationship between the police department and the community? What you're doing is great, but there is so much mistrust between police and the community. And the community, I think Chief Craig's done a great job. And, even starting the NPO program, the Neighborhood Policing Officer Program, and trying to gauge and connect with the community. What are you seeing on your ends as to how this program and this engagement is helping to strengthen that relationship?
Yeah, so I'll provide an example of what we're doing right now. So it's called Critical Conversations. Actually, there's one this evening from 6 to 8 p.m. And what it is that we bring in the youth and we partner them with police officers. And so there's dialogue that occurs. We do on-spot surveying, asking, do you trust the police or do you not trust the police? Then we go in and have discussions. We break the kids in 4 to 5 people in a room and have them dialogue around, when you saw this occur, what are your rights and what can you do? And now officers talk to them about what their rights are and how they can improve and how this dialogue is important. I'll share one part of it is that one young lady during one of the calls, because I asked our note takers, which are in each of the breakout rooms, what was compelling? Like what stood out, when you were in the rooms and just taking notes to capture, some solutions. And this happened to be a white young man. He was probably, young in that 30 or 40 who was taking notes. And he said a 12-year-old young African-American girl who was in the room said that she feared or she had anxiety when she went out into communities where there were people that didn't look like her. So she was saying outside of Detroit, she felt unsafe and she felt fear. And so it was startling to me because I'm thinking like, wow, she's faced with sometimes exposure to poverty, sometimes exposure to crime, but then she still feels this fear. And what was compelling was that he then said, I was saddened by that and I wanted to make a comment, but I was concerned about how someone may take the comments that I make, right? And so for me, what it showed was the importance of the dialogue that is needed right now, just in America in general, but the dialogue that PAL has created organically by these relationships and these collisions that we create early on with exposures to their officers. So now at the end of that call, what was compelling is one of the young ladies who's older, she's a part of our broadcast and journalist, she said, you know what, police officers are almost like parents. They need a hug every now and then too. They also need some support because sometimes they may be dealing with something, but they have to keep this image, or they still have to go out and take on these, challenging situations where they pull up and pull someone over and they don't know who's sitting in that car. They don't know if everything is right, and they're thinking about going home to their families. So for her to have empathy for the officer, and the officers to then have a better understanding of the voice of the kids so they can see them all as individuals, that's the power of PAL. That's the power of the positive collisions early on. And that's why we're a sustainable approach to address police relations. And that's also why I believe Chief Craig doing a great job. We also haven't seen some of the greater extent of challenges that some of these other communities have faced with the police relations.
Well, change starts with a conversation, but you and your team doing so many great things over there. And I know that the next 6 months, it's going to be a struggle as we try to come out of this pandemic, but I definitely hope that you get the funding and the support that you need to keep up these important conversations, but also the important work that you and all of them are, your entire team. You have an entire team over there and so many volunteers as well, including members of the Detroit Police Department. So thank you so much for being with us on the Oakland County Megacast.
Oh, thank you for the platform, and DetroitPal.org if you want to be a part of the change you want to see. So thank you.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Still a lot to get to in the second hour of the show. Next up, we will be speaking about small businesses and how they are trying to survive this ongoing COVID-19 crisis. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
Or blue. But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19: wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards. Back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Great to have you with us on the Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl in my home studio. Mr. Tyler Keefe holding things down back at Civic Center TV there in West Bloomfield. As a reminder, we want to say thank you again to the West Bloomfield School District for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. So thank you to them. You can also catch today's edition live on civiccentertv.com. But if you miss the show, you can also go back at later dates and just log on to be able to view some of our previous interviews as well. Kicking off the 11 o'clock hour, Michigan small businesses employ nearly 2 million people here in the state of Michigan, about 49% of the private workforce. And so many of those small businesses are the hardest hit as the COVID crisis carries on. So what's ahead for them? Let's go ahead and bring in now Brian Calley. He's the president of the Small Business Association of Michigan. You have a tough job. How are you? Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much for the invitation and for the conversation. Yeah, this is such a critical time for so many small businesses. You know, there are some where they're literally hanging on by a thread. Others that have already tragically closed permanently. And at this point, as we face this winter, this second wave, which is hopefully crested and started to come down, but new challenges presenting themselves now. So even as the vaccine maybe gives us a light at the end of the tunnel, we know that that is too far away to save many of our small businesses that need help right now.
What's so hard about this? I feel like in the beginning of the pandemic, people were really committed to supporting small businesses in their community because they recognize and they understand they are the uniqueness in their community. They're what shapes our communities. But yet, we're nearly 9 months into this. And as we go into the second wave, it's like this repeat record, and people are starting to tune it out. But unfortunately, if you're a business owner, you don't have that choice. And so I feel like the public isn't showing as much support this time around.
Part of it is just the pandemic is wearing on general members of the public too. And so as as the way that you live your life on a day-to-day basis changes, that changes the way purchasing is happening, where people physically are, and therefore where traffic is generated, and how that manifests itself into either, in some cases, helping, in other cases, harming business plans. So I just take, for example, there are all kinds of businesses, small retail businesses that can be open in downtown Detroit. But when you have tens of thousands of office workers that are not going there every day, the traffic pattern has changed so much that the entire business model, while they can be open, just doesn't work anymore. And so that's where I think that there are some short-term and long-term risks here, is that not all habits are going to change back. Not everybody's going to go back to the office. And so while we've got urgent current needs, we also have to think about how do we bridge the gap between how things were done and how things are going to be done in the future, and help people to make that transition to this new world. But part of it is intentional action. I mean, one of the things that we're asking people to consider doing is, as you make your purchases, and there's a lot of purchases going to happen this month, as you make those purchases, to think, who local could I buy this from, this good or service? And I know it's kind of easy to take a shortcut, like, well, there's this one major online retailer and I could just go there and search and do it. But it would make it an enormous difference, according to the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, about a $1.2 billion difference if we just took 1 out of 10 of our purchases that we would normally not make online, or not make local, and make them local. And that doesn't mean drive to the store. That just, almost everybody does online fulfillment and delivery, even small businesses. So it's just a matter of taking that extra few minutes to consider, who local could I buy this from, and go to their website and have them deliver it to you, as opposed to sending the business and your money far and wide. I mean, there's tens of thousands of jobs at stake here.
And when we talk about that, the magnitude of this economic fallout, not just in the state of Michigan, but across the country, sometimes can seem overwhelming. And you feel like my one little purchase isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to fall into that and think, well, how big a difference is it going to make? And entrepreneurs have to be survivors in the first place. So in the best of times, starting and running a successful small business is really, really difficult. And so making it really right now, when everybody's so close on the margin, that incremental increases in activity make a big, big difference. So I would say that during normal economic times, the one additional purchase may or may not make that big a difference. During this time, it makes an enormous difference. And so even small purchases, even just modest changes in the way that that consumers are making their purchases can make a big difference for local retailers. And I think there's a good additional interest beyond the wanting to help small businesses, but it's also about the community at large, because the small business owners tend to be the community leaders. They tend to be the ones that are supporting the local activities. The charities and the nonprofits that make the biggest difference locally. A big base of their support comes from the local business community, and if we give that up in favor of some kind of business community that is far and wide and far away, it's not like any of that's going to come back to local support. And so I think that there's a really good 360-degree set of reasons here to support local and make the biggest impact that you can. Even if you don't think it's that big, I promise you it makes a difference.
We see these stories about so many of these grants being offered. And I know there was recently a grant that was being offered to restaurants and bars to be able to, winterize the outside of their businesses. However, the need is so great. Like you see 10 million, 15 million, it seems like a lot of money, but there are so many businesses that it's really such a drop in the bucket.
It really is. And that's why we have to look to the federal government for the main part of the support. So you had mentioned those weatherization grants. There's $3 million for those. We at the Small Business Association of Michigan actually handled the administration of those grants. Within one day, we had $24 million of applications for that $3 million. And so to just give you a sense for it, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, through their strategic fund, just put another $10 million that will open up, and grants that will open up on December 15th. Those, if you're not, and it'll be first come, first serve for certain industries that are hardest hit, but that money will be gone in 10 or 15 minutes. So if you're not in on the original 10 or 15 minutes, it'll be gone. It's not millions or hundreds of millions. The need right now really is in the billions, because bars and restaurants and movie theaters and bowling alleys and convention center style businesses, and then the whole ecosystem that serves office workers. Because I'll just give you one example, that even if there were a lot of switches to local retail purchases, I'll think of an example like a dry cleaner. Like dry cleaners right now are not getting anywhere near the level of business. And while I'm buying gifts, and people aren't, like, that's not the type of service that you would normally you would normally do it like a gift certificate or something for. And so so in so many of these businesses, it really is they need a bridge to get back to the point when office workers can go back to work or go back to in-person work. And that is so that's why I think it goes way beyond retailers and bars and restaurants. I think the need really goes into almost every type of industry, and that's going to take a federal solution. So we're hoping that there'll be another round of Paycheck Protection Program funding for those businesses that are hardest hit, measured by decline in sales compared to a previous period. And so if that passes, even if that does pass before Christmas, I think there's a decent chance that it could. It'll take until at earliest late January or early February before any of that money really hits the street. So these are tough times. We're very concerned that the thousands of businesses that we've already seen close, it could get that impact could multiply and be a whole lot worse come February.
So is there any type of conversation within your organization and some of our elected leaders, not so much to also help these businesses that have gone under or that are struggling, but the ones that have gone under? Because for them, their future, they're now probably going to have, outstanding bills and bankruptcies on their record. Their credit's going to be shot. So is there any type of conversation about what can be done post-pandemic to try to help these companies that went under?
Yeah, I wish I could say that there was a lot of work happening on that, but there's not yet. Right now, it's triage of trying to save as many businesses as possible that are still in business. We started kind of, frankly, reluctantly. We started programming in terms of webinars and education for our members about bankruptcy protections. Sometimes bankruptcy is about liquidation, but sometimes it's about reorganization, like a tool to survive. Mm-hmm. And so that's not the type of programming we like to offer, but it's something that is necessary right now. So yeah, I think there's a wide range here, and the thing is, it's certainly not all bad news. We do know that there are some types of businesses that were very well positioned for the changes that happened. And there are others that were able to pivot to different lines of business. The famous ones are the ones that had to do directly with the pandemic, making PPE, personal protective equipment, and that sort of thing. But there's a whole bunch of other pivots that are happening out there, and different ways of delivering goods and services that are inspiring and unique and innovative, and that's what entrepreneurs do. The ones that I'm most concerned about are the ones that just bluntly can't outsmart their way out of a required closure. So if you own a bowling alley, you just have to close. You can't remote bowl. You can't bowl from outside into the building. Like, there are no real options for that. They just have to wait. And
our music venues, we had the gentleman on yesterday. I mean, when are they even going to be able to reopen?
Yeah, that's well, take for example, so you got the venue itself, but there are tons of small businesses that do contract event work inside those venues. And so I think that's a perfect example of, you have this central activity center that closes. You have all the contractors that work in that activity center, that their business is all gone. And then you have a whole set of businesses outside and around that activity center that do other types of ancillary services, like restaurants and bars. And they're not getting the type of traffic. Of course, they have to be closed at the moment to indoor service. But even if they weren't, as long as the venue is closed, their whole business model doesn't work. And so, sometimes people will kind of flippantly say, well, just do takeout and delivery. But here's the thing, with a fast food restaurant, when they're literally designed, the packaging and the food is designed for takeout. For a sit-down restaurant or for a bar, it's the atmosphere oftentimes that is what they're really selling. It's not really just about the utility of, I need to eat food. It's where you go to hang out with other people and gather with your friends and get great service. So if service and atmosphere is the product that is really being sold, as opposed to just the food, switching over to delivery is not, it's not that easy. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of these sit-down restaurants, they feel lucky if they can get 10% of their sales back through delivery.
Oh yeah. And it's just not even, they've had to scale way back for the one, and that's for the ones that have even been able to remain open. Brian Calley with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the president for the Small Business Association of Michigan. We're running a little behind here, so our apologies to our next guest. But Brian, before we let you go, Do you have anything uplifting or positive, even a nugget of positivity that maybe you can leave us with?
Well, we do see a lot of innovation that is happening now in several different industries, and the innovation is coming in a lot of different forms. Sometimes it's how the good or service is delivered. Sometimes it's meeting a need that exists now that didn't exist before. But sometimes it's doing the same thing they did, but doing it in a way that is safer. And so we saw some really cool practices happening in restaurants in terms of how they could turn over tables faster so they had limited capacity but still get their numbers up. There are some good things. They're figuring it out, but unfortunately for those that are required to be closed, there's not much you can figure out about being closed. We just got to figure out how to get them back open. What
about emerging businesses?
We do see that there are a lot of new employer identification number filings happening this year, more than I've ever seen in my career. So sometimes out of downtimes, out of desperation, innovation and entrepreneurialism is born. So we do see more business filings happening this year than we would see in normal years. So I am quite excited to see who those businesses are, what they end up doing, and whether or not this is something they're doing just short term because another opportunity went away, or if it's something that they're really going to make a go of full time and go bigger in the future. So that is a bright spot that exists right now, is that there are a lot of new entrepreneurs. As much as counterintuitive as that might sound, there are a lot of new entrepreneurs that are joining the ranks right now.
That is good to hear, and it's like you said, we'll see if those actually come to fruition. And but really, it's this time more than ever, I think people are learning, follow your passion.
Yeah, that's a great point. And in some, like in a case where is now the time to start that business that you've been thinking about starting? Sometimes it's a matter of, well, you're weighing these options, and what I was doing before doesn't seem as good anymore, or maybe that opportunity went away, or life's really short and I'm just going to go for it. And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of it was really about that. And so that's it. It really is as tough as it is to see some businesses go out of business. We're also seeing new people go into business, and that's exciting. I'm really excited to see where they go from there.
Well, Brian, Calley, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ronnie.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. We're running just a couple minutes behind. When we come back, we'll be speaking with one of those small business owners, see how they are handling this latest new executive, or actually health order to shut down for in-store dining. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward. not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for hanging in there with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Just about 30 minutes left in the show. And as a reminder, you can catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you have cable, channel 15 on Comcast, channel 99 on AT&T. Also tune us into the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And thank you today to the West Bloomfield School District for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. And we'll be speaking with a couple of their students coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, our coffee houses are more than just a place to pick up a cup of joe. They are meeting places where we come together to share stories. And for some, during this pandemic, they have also become their remote offices, kind of their escape pod. But just like other restaurants, coffee houses have been ordered to close their doors to indoor dining due to the pandemic. And to talk a little bit more about that is Nathan Hamoud. He's the president and director of coffee roasting operations for Dessert Oasis Coffee Roasters. Thank you for being with us on the Oakland County Megacast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I bet you make the best cup of coffee.
We certainly try.
I love that this is a family business. Do you want to give us a little bit of background as to your company and how you guys got started?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we started back in 2009 as a real small mom and pop shop that was really kind of originally started as sort of a venue for local musicians to play and for really my family at the downturn of the economy back in 2008 and 2009 to sort of, try our hand at something new. And from there, I sort of started to get really interested in really developing our coffee a bit further and sort of getting more into roasting. We started roasting coffee in-house and sort of started just bootstrapping our growth over the years.
Nate, I'm looking at you. You must have been like 12 at the time.
Yeah, I think I was 13. Yep.
I wasn't allowed to drink coffee until I was like at least 16.
Yep, it was certainly maybe an odd child in a way.
But it's great that it's a family affair. But you grew this business out of an economic downturn, but now we're in the middle of one like you've never seen before. How are you all doing?
Sure. We're first of all trying to stay really positive and really kind of trying to push through this little by little and just sort of staying as agile and adaptive as possible. We've tried to find sort of new ways to engage with consumers. I think something that's really core to our brand is about togetherness and the togetherness of people and the communities in which we operate. So obviously that becomes difficult when we don't have, so much, dine in and sort of atmosphere aspect of the business. So we're trying to find really new ways to engage. And so that's come in the form of some different means. We've, done some packaged bottled drinks. We've sold some items that you could purchase online or pick up in store that you could take home and use to make coffee drinks at home. We've put out some videos and some education on brewing some really great coffee at home, using some of those materials that we sell, really trying to find different ways to engage. And ultimately, of course, you can still come in and get a cup to go. So, we're leaning into that, leaning into our online sales and sort of just doing what we can to kind of be scrappy and keep kind of pivoting.
And how's it going so far? Are you making it, or you made it through the first round?
Sure.
Are you worried about the second round? Although people tend to drink a lot more coffee in the wintertime.
winter is certainly a big time, which is sort of, it's good and bad in some ways, right? Because this would be a very big time of year for us that would sort of, be a pretty good revenue piece for even other aspects of the year. But the positive being that it is certainly a time where coffee sales are still likely to be really solid, at least even in their different capacity. So, the first shutdown was probably more drastic to our sales. This one has certainly been, notable, but we've at least gotten maybe a little bit more experience in how we navigate it now. It's at least a little less new, and we're just, figuring out how we can sort of do our part. And yes, I would say we're mostly making it. Yeah, for sure.
So, and because going in, obviously, like you said, it's about the atmosphere, and you can't offer that atmosphere.
Sure.
You worry about some of the performers, the musicians that can't play. Are you guys trying to do any virtual events with some of them?
Sure. We had done a couple live streamed virtual events early on in the shutdown, particularly with the stay-at-home orders, where people were at home trying to find ways to bring some of the musicians, direct to their home. We've had some of our open mic nights actually held virtually. Brian Ryborn hosts our open mic in Detroit and has been hosting a virtual one. And it's kind of cool too, because he hosts a couple other open mics in the area. And so he's been able to bring those into the same open mic and kind of build out that little community. So it's kind of a cool thing.
In some ways, do you feel like you're actually getting to know your customers more? You're building a tighter knit community?
It's interesting because we're learning, different things about consumers. We're learning different things about different consumers. We're seeing levels of support and appreciation from consumers that I think is really encouraging to us for sure. And I think in trying to find new ways to connect, I think there are some points where we can find some certainly positive engagement in that.
So I know so many businesses are also trying to utilize some of these grants to be able to do outdoor spaces. Is that even an option for you and your team at some of your locations? And if so, have you been able to even get some of the grants?
So we haven't really leaned too much into outdoor seating. For us, with where our locations are, we have locations in downtown areas where there isn't a ton of space out front to do that seating. We also do, worry about how we would do it in a way that we would feel really great about in terms of safety. It would still feel like it's somewhat close proximity to us, would feel a little bit too much like dine-in to us.
So with that, what do you think were you surprised, by the way, that I think so many people saw this pause coming. Were you surprised it got extended?
I was not actually. We had sort of done our planning based on the assumption that it was going to be extended. From looking at what sort of metrics were going to be analyzed before making the decision to extend or end the pause, I didn't quite see that sort of change happening in such a short period of time. So we were anticipating an extension for sure. And it started making a lot of plans actually for even what we'd be doing this week and next week under that assumption.
Yeah, I pretty much figured, because when you said before, we will give businesses enough time to make the shift. And so when we didn't hear, it was like, well, they have to understand you don't just, call up a bunch of employees and say, hey, come back to work tomorrow and, have that food supply there. But so, yeah, a lot of people were able to anticipate that the pause was coming.
Sure.
If it doesn't end on the 20th, how long do you think you and your locations can survive?
We'll survive really as long as we need to. I think I feel like a very resilient company. I think, we came out of an economic downturn, and that's how we got our start. In some ways in those days, it was probably a little bit easier to operate in an economic downturn because realistically, our numbers weren't great to start with, right? Right in those very early days. So of course we were scrappy. We were scrappy by nature. As we've grown as a company, I think there are a lot of new obstacles that present themselves, and this is of course a very different type of economic downturn, one that there isn't a lot of real history or practice in this type of thing. But I think that sort of scrappiness and sort of entrepreneurial creativity and drive, I think, is something that still just runs through this company. And I think we'll do sort of whatever we need to just kind of keep adapting and do what we can to help slow the spread while still keeping ourselves alive here.
And with that, and in that spirit, what are some of the changes that you've made that you think may stick around post-pandemic if we ever get there?
Sure. So our online sales, for one, are something that we really hadn't leaned into much before the pandemic. 2020 was a year that we did actually plan on expanding our online presence. We had obviously planned on expanding it very differently than we ended up having to, and on a very different timeline than we ended up having to. But that's something that's actually been a really strong piece of our business now that I would like to continue to grow even after the pandemic, for sure.
Well, that's good to know. So when you see the news about the vaccine, does it give you hope?
It certainly does. Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. I think it's pretty amazing to see what our scientific and medical community have been able to do in such a short time. And I hope and have the highest hopes that they can get it to market safely, effectively, and quickly, and that hopefully there's we're not too far from that other side here.
And if you can just hold on, because I do think when we get to the other side, people are going to be so eager to get back to life. They'll definitely appreciate those moments of going to the coffee house and knowing the name of, the person working behind the counter and being able to sit down and, meet with friends and listen to music. So just hold on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a lot we sort of take for granted in our day-to-day that I don't think we will after this.
Very much so. Gratitude for the little things. Quickly, Nate, before we let you go, though, do you want to give us your location sites and also your online website as well? So if people want to try their hands at trying to make their own coffee, good luck to you. But in case they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we provide all sorts of materials and try to help in whatever ways we can to make great coffee at home too. So yeah, we have a store in Rochester. That's right in downtown Rochester on Main Street. We have a store in Royal Oak, again, right on Main Street in Royal Oak, over by 11 in Maine. And then we have a store in Detroit, right downtown in Capitol Park, which is like State and Griswold Street. And then our online store is www.docr.coffee.
Well, great. It's always great having you back on the show. Best of luck to you and your family in surviving this. And it's just around the corner. Hang on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, good luck to you. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Just a few minutes left in the show. And when we return, a couple of West Bloomfield High School students will be joining us on the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Just about 20 minutes left here in the Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for being with us. As a reminder, you can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, civiccentertv.com. If you do by chance miss the show, you can always go back later and click on the website and be able to catch full versions of the Megacast or individual interviews as well. Today, we also want to say thank you to the West Bloomfield School District for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the show on their Facebook page. And with that, we want to go ahead and bring in a couple of bright stars over at the West Bloomfield High School, Student Leadership President Alicia Sungvi and Student Government Vice President Ava Bell. Actually, I got that mixed up. Ava, you're the Student Leadership President, right?
Yes.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
And then Alicia, you're the Student Government Vice President.
Yes, that's right.
Are you guys zoomed out right now?
Honestly, it's a lot of Zoom calls all day long, plus meetings for student government, student leadership. I mean, it's a lot, but I mean, we have to do what we have to do.
Ava, how are you doing?
I'm good, and I agree that it has been like a lot of Zooms for us to go through every day, but I mean, like Alicia said, we have to like get our education and learn from our teachers and go to our meetings. And it's important to us too, that we do have meetings and we do continue to have like these like experiences and everything.
What has it been like for you to do virtual meetings? Because you're trying to uplift and do good things for the students and for your school, but you're having to do it remotely. Alicia, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, so, I mean, we're trying to get as many things done as we can, and we have to stay productive. Some challenges we face are like cameras being off during the meetings because you can't get that personal interaction and you can't see how the other person's reacting to the idea or whatever you're talking about. But we have been able to get a lot done. We have an amazing group of kids working together, and I'm very proud of us for being able to stick with all the tasks that we have to complete. But I mean, there are challenges, but I'm proud of us.
So Alicia, what grade are you in?
I'm a senior this year.
So you're a senior. What's it been like as well trying to prepare for college?
Well, this summer, our school offered a lot of different workshops for us to partake in to help us with our applications. Usually they would have been in person, but they were awesome and created Zoom platforms for us to still work on our applications. We had a boot camp to teach us how to do the Common App, which was really awesome. I felt like it went smoothly. All my stuff is in, which is really exciting. Now we're all just waiting on the results, but the process was good.
That's good. Ava, how are you doing with that?
Yeah, I agree. Like they had a lot of like resources for us to use, like not only just the boot camp, but also like our counselors saying like we're available, like join Zoom calls with us, like we'll help you. We understand that this is different, but we're there for you. And like teachers too were super like helpful with it because they've been through it with their other students. And yeah, I have all my applications in as well and still just waiting.
Do you know what you want to study?
I personally would like to study dietetics and like work to become a registered dietitian.
Wow. With that, so let's go ahead. Tell us a little bit about the You Matter Week.
All right, so You Matter Week this year is actually 2 weeks because we've had a lot of stuff going on. And it started this Monday and goes till next Friday, the 18th, I believe. And we have the theme this year is breaking the silence around like mental health and mental illness and everything. And that just like that it's okay to talk about it and that it's normal. And we have an essay contest going on where students can write an essay about anything relating to You Matter, breaking the silence. We also have like a mixed media where you can use like photography or painting or anything to talk about mental health. And we also have staff and student TED Talks where they're explaining what they've gone through and how they've like faced challenges and everything like that. And we also have like more fun activities. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the game Among Us, but it's really popular right now, and we're actually having like a school-wide like Among Us like game together. It's like a video game on your phone, and that's this Wednesday or today. And we also have a yoga day next week, so that's like just to help us all like relax and understand that like we need to take time for ourselves and stuff like that. And we also have dress up days going on, and today is actually a whiteout. That's why Alicia and I are wearing white, and it's to white out the darkness.
That's I love that you are addressing the issue of mental health right now, because I think it's so important for teenagers to speak with one another about those issues. And Alicia, because Ava, you're freezing up just a little bit there. So Alicia, let's go ahead and bring you in now. Talk to us a little bit about some of the fundraising programs that you have been working on.
Yeah, so we have some awesome fundraisers going on. So we can start with talking about Giving Tree. So this is a committee and leadership where usually it's obviously in person. We have a physical tree to represent the Giving Tree, and the staff is able to purchase gifts for students at West Bloomfield High School in need of gifts. But we decided to do this virtually, so we have an eFunds account set up where anyone in the community, staff, anybody can just donate money so that we can purchase about $25 gift cards for each student in need. So that's one fundraiser. Another is Adopt a Family. So this is also a leadership committee where we have essentially adopted a family of 6 whose income has been greatly affected by the COVID pandemic. This family is in need of just basic necessities like clothing, bed sheets, winter boots, winter coats. We're hoping to raise enough money to also get them holiday gifts like soccer cleats, makeup, toys, just anything kids would like. This committee has set up a Walmart registry for anyone to buy gifts, as well as an eFunds account. There's links to all of those. And then our last one through student government is called Sock December. So we are collecting socks to give to a nonprofit organization called One Mother to Another. They take the socks and they donate them to homeless people in Detroit in need during this cold time. We have an Amazon registry set up for that, as well as an eFunds. So for all 3 of these, they have eFunds. You can go to wbsd.org, and in the top right corner, there's a little tab that says eFunds. And if you click on that, it'll take you to the 3 pages and it'll prompt you to donate. Yeah.
So, and Alicia, what's this been like for you to take part in some of these fundraising efforts? Because you as a senior, you're missing out on so many traditions because of the pandemic, but it does, you still have your comforts of home. So to see these other families suffering in different ways, does it make you appreciate what you have even more?
Yeah, it definitely does, because I'm just fortunate enough to live in a really awesome neighborhood, awesome family, but working with these fundraisers makes me realize that there are a lot of people who have been greatly impacted by what's going on, and being able to help them has made me just appreciate everything that I have like extremely more,
But how hard is it to try to fundraise virtually? You don't have events where you can, be standing out there with a bucket and collecting change and money. And
it's been challenging. We've come up with some awesome things. We've made flyers on an awesome website called Canva that we've emailed out. We've made videos where each person has a little line and we compile it together to show that we're still united. We talk about it in awesome opportunities like this to get the word out. I mean, it's different, but it's working.
Sorry, that's my husband's leaving for work, so my dog is going crazy. And Ava, if I could go ahead and talk to you a little bit too, how do you think this crisis and going through the crisis is impacting you long term, and what you're experiencing and how you're living your life?
I think that like going through this pandemic really is going to influence a lot of us and like our choices that we make like for college and our choices like in life, because we have like experienced what it's like to be stuck at home for all of these weeks and everything. and it's going to make us like appreciate it so much more, like too, like when we do hopefully get to a post-pandemic world, like being able to go and see our friends and go to restaurants and all of it, like it's going to mean so much more and be so much more exciting.
Have you had your friends be more open about suffering from mental health issues during this time?
Yeah, I know, like I have talked to a lot of my friends about what we've been going through and how it's harder now to reach out and everything because you are so isolated, but that it's, you really have to, like if you're really struggling, like you need to reach out.
I'm sorry, you froze up just a little bit there at the end. Can you repeat what you were saying there? That's okay. We seem to be having a few technical issues with Ava. So Alicia, what was on your college application? I know typically they talk about having you address some, a challenging time that you have gone through in your life. What did you talk about any of the issues and some of the things you've been going through during the COVID-19 crisis?
So I didn't personally choose to talk about that because I knew it would be a bigger platform for others to talk about who had been like more greatly impacted. I chose to talk about just something more general in my life, just like tackling everything I have to in life with all the clubs, after school curriculars, pressures of society. That's what I made mine about, but I know a lot of other people took that opportunity to address what they were going through.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the school and the support that you and the other students have had through the administration and trying to navigate this? Because you haven't been able to return back to the school at all, right? So you've been remote learning since what, like last March?
Yep, it's been that long.
Wow. Do you think you're ever going to get back to the classroom, or have you just pretty much assumed that this is going to be how you're going to end your high school career?
I've honestly just accepted that this is how it's gonna end. I mean, it would be an awesome surprise to go back just for the last little bit of senior year. I was fortunate to have soaked up everything I could in my last 3 years, which I'm thankful for. But to end like my last year of high school like this is just crazy, and I never thought that would happen.
So Ava, it looks like we have you back before we go, just a couple more minutes here with us on the Oakland County Megacast. What's this been like for you long term? Are you hoping to get back into the classroom at all before you end your high school career?
It would be amazing to be able to get back and see all my teachers and spend the day, and even just one day like in a classroom with all my friends and everything. But I think that it's honestly like we just have to accept that that might not happen and learn to like be okay with it and learn to appreciate that we have had 3 other years of high school and time with our teachers and friends and everything, and just to be thankful that we did have all of those times.
Did you ever think that you would say, I can't wait to get up early and get dressed and go to school?
Honestly, I never thought I would say that ever. Like, I never thought that I would miss like driving to school at 6:30 in the morning or waiting in that turn line or anything, but I do miss it a lot.
Do either of you play sports?
Yeah, I'm on the varsity Palms team as well as the golf team.
So what's this been like for you with, your sports and those being canceled?
So thankfully, golf is a sport where it starts in August and ends really early in the school year. And since it's golf, you're able to social distance really easily. So we actually had a normal season. We had to wear masks and just take precautions. But for the Palms team, it has been difficult because right now we can't have practices. We weren't able to perform at the first few football games, which is kind of sucky because, you just want to embrace all the time you have. But we were lucky to perform at a few football games. So we hope to do basketball soon.
Oh, fingers crossed, right? And with that, Ava, do you want to talk a little bit before we let you go about Staff Appreciation Week as well?
Yeah, we have a staff appreciation and a student appreciation committee that just works to make sure that both groups really do feel that they're appreciated and that they matter and everything. It kind of goes hand in hand with You Matter Week. And so for staff appreciation, we had students make like a little video thanking the staff for what they've been doing and everything that they've done for us. And that was sent out during Thanksgiving break. And we're also having each student in leadership write a personalized letter to a staff member at like thanking them for what they're doing and maybe just like a fun memory or something like that. And then for student appreciation, we sent out like a Google form for students, parents, and staff to fill out with positive messages about any student in the school. And we actually got over 400 messages sent, which is amazing.
And then do you post those messages virtually then?
Yeah, they were emailed to each student.
Oh, that's nice. Well, you two definitely are a bright spot for so many people. I know students that such as yourself are struggling during this pandemic, but you both seem like you have embraced it. It's not fun, it's challenging, but you have embraced it. But not only that, you are also working to make life a little bit better for those around you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it was great to have both of you, and that is Ava Bell, she's the Student Leadership President, and Alicia Sungvi, she's the Student Government Vice President over at the West Bloomfield High School. And we also want to say thank you to the West Bloomfield High School for allowing us to live stream today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. So thank you to them. That's going to wrap it up for the Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler and myself and the entire team will be back here tomorrow morning, Thursday at 10 a.m. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast.
Keeping West Bloomfield connected during the coronavirus outbreak. This is 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake. 89.3 Lakes FM. Tough task to do a Bruce Springsteen song better than Bruce Springsteen. That was accomplished by Manfred Mann's Earth Band when they covered Blinded by the Light. Lunch with Larry, Lakes FM.